And so let's get right into it because you're right, Jim. I have a stack of topics to get to, and the first two relate to each other. Let's first start with the Carolina Panthers, who have the number 1 pick. And there's a report that the Carolina Panthers apparently aren't as set on taking C.J. Stroud with the number 1 overall pick. Peter King writes, there are several influential voices within the Panthers organization that prefer Bryce Young to Stroud. Now, if you remember, betting odds right now for DraftKings at least currently have Stroud at minus 330, and Frank Wright reportedly his strong prefers a taller quarterback, which is not Bryce Young. Your thoughts on that news?
We need to acknowledge that this is silly season.
There it is.
Because I don't believe a team trades for the number 1 pick and then has infighting and uncertainty of who they're going to take. I refuse to believe it. They know their guy. They're drafting their guy. And I don't know why they won't just tell us. They're not going to trade out of it. What the hell's going on?
You do this every year.
But why?
Because
Can't we just get the certainty with the number 1 pick? You trade it up because you have someone in mind.
Because you don't want to give all the leverage to the agent and to that player knowing, okay, they're going to take you so you can ask for more demands. Even though the salary is pretty much locked in, it's still, you want to make them sweat a little bit. You don't want them to know. I mean, heck, we even had this. I remember when Jacksonville had Trevor. It was like, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Well, we don't really know. We don't know if we're going to take Trevor Lawrence or not. Like, really? Don't believe anything that you hear now until the draft because, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a betting person, just bet them both. I'm sure you'll get good odds, just cover. But no, it's going to be C.J. Stroud. Unless he does something stupid between now and then, he's going to be your number 1.
I agree.
Which leads to the next story, another Peter King story on the Houston Texans. Now, if you believe C.J. Stroud is going, or whatever, maybe Bryce Young goes number 1 overall, Peter King writes, we're all operating under the belief that the Texans will pick a quarterback that Carolina leaves for them. He says he's 90% on board with that, but with that pick and the first 2 first-round picks next year, is it impossible to think they take the cleanest prospect in the draft, Will Anderson at 2, and get their quarterback slightly lower? Is what he writes. He says GM Nick Cassero is very conservative. If he doesn't love a quarterback at 2, he's not going to force it.
It's actually not a smart thing, but everybody's been saying, well, they got to take a QB. You got to take a QB. But you could take Will Anderson. You could have that generational type player. You could build up. And guess what? You will still stink next year. And you'll be in the running for Caleb Williams. You'll be in the running for Michael Penix. You'll be in the running for a lot of quarterbacks coming out next year. Now, the thing is, the knock, you've been saying it for the longest, Cookies, is that Bryce Young is short. So do you want to bring in a 5'10 QB? Can he win? I'm not big. I don't really care about how tall you are. Can you make plays? And I saw him make plays, and I think he'll be fine in the NFL.
Yeah, there's tall players in the SEC, and he was able to make plays. I don't share the fear that some teams have with Bryce, but let's say that Houston loves Stroud and is scared of Bryce. CJ's there, they draft him.
Right.
If he's not, you go with the defensive player.
Now, if that happens, then I think
now one of them's on the move.
See, Stroud and Jalen Carter are going to be the 2 linchpins of the draft. That when all of a sudden they move, things are going to shift. Because if all of a sudden Bryce Young is there, Arizona's phone is going to blow up. Everybody's going to want to make that trade with them now because they didn't think that they had a shot at it. And now, what do you do with the Lions sitting there at 6? The asking price for number 3 pick is going to just be too much. So they could pass. They should pass, but they're the Texans. They won't pass.
And before I get to the next thing, what's interesting at the end of the Peter King article, and I'm still not used to Detroit being the example in the league, but he talks about how Houston could do the way of what Detroit did and get the better player, the edge rusher, like Detroit did last year with Aiden Hutchinson versus the quarterback. Detroit
build the team first and then get the quarterback.
Yeah, they could. Yeah. And what's getting me, David, I still can't believe the hype is up there, but according to the betting odds, you know who's the betting favorite to be the number 3 pick?
Is it Will Anderson?
No.
Who is it?
Wilson?
No.
Is it a QB? Someone trading up?
No, right now.
Who the hell is it?
According to, the betting odds, and number 3 overall pick, minus 165, Anthony Richardson.
Well, then let me get you this other quarterback that's hot on the presses right now, and that's Hendon Hooker. He is flying today for a visit to the Saints.
Gators guy.
Yep, his visit will be officially tomorrow, so he's flying today. He's coming off the ACL tear. And, of course, the New Orleans Saints pick at 29. There's a lot of buzz about him. Is he going in the first round?
See, David, you were on your vacation making baby number 4 when we talked about this.
Flag.
But I was high on Hendon Hooker as well until we came out with I found a stat during the blitz. Do you know who is at, what is he, minus 1,200 or was it minus 2, it was whatever, it's minus 200, 1,200 for win the Heisman? It's Joe Milton. Joe Milton has better odds than J.J. McCarthy. Joe Milton has better odds than Blake Corum, which then led me to believe
system.
It's the system. It ain't the QB.
He was a fifth-year.
You line up wide receivers shaking hands with the coach along the sideline and just spread the field all out, you're going to find your open receiver.
The system he operates in is a lot of half-field, split-field reads, very system-y. Hooker also stands in the pocket for a long time. It's very one read or take off. One read, stand in there, stand like a statue. I don't know. I worry about the knee. He's older. I wouldn't force it for Hendon Hooker.
I don't worry about the knee, but I do worry about that system. Like,
no, but just tack it all on. It all adds up.
Because I guess we saw Joe Milton, and yes, players can get better, but wait a minute. Joe Milton has better odds than JJ. I kind of find that hard to believe, which leads me to think he's going to be a part of a system. So, yeah, that kind of takes it away from what I think about Hendon Hooker.
So let's close it out with this, because there was a question hanging over the head of Lamar Jackson from not traveling in the playoff game. Well, he has answered that question. Everyone remembers he didn't travel to Pittsburgh in Week 17 and then did not travel to the playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
He responded on Twitter. He says, after I traveled to Pittsburgh, my PCL got inflated. So a few of us discussed it, and I got the okay to stay so I could try to recover faster in case they won the game. Then I can play in the next playoff game, is what he's saying. So do you believe that excuse, or you want to just say, you know what, he's just, at this point, it doesn't matter?
I saw someone say something that I agree with. Stop talking about the PCL. Stop reminding people you had a knee injury last year. Just shut up. Am I wrong, Rico?
It doesn't really matter.
It wasn't a good look for him. Stop dwelling on it.
If you would have come out with this or right after, like, okay, I didn't just bail on my team. Here was the plan. I was trying to get healthy in case we won that next game, but we didn't. If you had John Harbaugh on board, who would come out and back you up and say, yes, guys, we discussed this. We just didn't want to let the other team know what was going on. But to say it now, it rings hollow. No one cares.
Yeah, why not the team release a statement? The GM at the end of the year presser say, this is what was going on.
Right. I mean, because you see a lot of times where they're like, yeah, this person was hurt. They've been hurt all year. We really kind of hid it from everybody. But now that the season over, you guys might as well know.
Rico, Drew Rosenhaus was in the news earlier today, and I was hoping it was because Lamar had signed him as his agent. I know he doesn't want to give a cut to an agent, but couldn't somebody help him with PR, optics, and then, actual negotiation? Doesn't Lamar have to suck it up and hire one of these high-profile agents so we can get to the bottom of this?
I don't think it's going to happen, because I think Lamar has drawn an artificial line in the sand for himself that no one else, everybody else is like, Lamar, just cross over here and we'll take care of you. But no.
He's too stubborn.
I need $250 million, 5-year, all guarantee. Honestly, if he came up and said, I'll take a 2-year, $110 million fully guaranteed, I think you would get a lot of teams that would say, you know what? We can bite on that. Heck, even a team locally may consider. We got to give up one draft pick and you start doing the math in your head. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm
But
good.
At
I'm
this,
good.
I know you are.
Yeah, he can go to the Michigan Panthers. It's so good being back talking football. That is in football today.
David just quickly dismissed me.